Hello, everyone. How are you today? I hope you're enjoying your day and you've enjoyed your week so far. Welcome to another episode of Abundantly You podcast. My name is Rhoda, and I'm your host today. Today, I have with me a lovely woman, Holly, and we are going to speak about reclaiming soul sovereignty and soul channeling the great healer. I am so excited. I can't wait to get into this topic. So just to share a bit about Holly, Holly is an amazing woman, and she energetically triggers women to discover their unique soul's talents and guide them in restoring their spiritual connection to self-love and emotional freedom to be their authentic selves. Holly is from Midland, Michigan, where she calls home. She shares her life with her divine soul partner Rob and has a grown son. She is spiritually awakened and is an ancient angelic soul. We'll talk more about this. Has spent years exploring the unremembered wisdom within herself and beyond into the galactic realms, resulting in life changing effects during this awakening of her soul's DNA blueprint. So that's just about her. She is a wellness coach. She is an Akashic records guide. She's an oracle reader, shamanic guide. She's a psychic medium, which I absolutely love. So we have lots to talk about. And a catalyst to soul realignment. She is a spiritual guide for lost souls and implant removal. An esoteric arts mentor, galactic language channel, and galactic channel, and intuitive healer. So I'm going to bring her on so she can tell us more about herself, how she works with others, and her journey to discovering who she is and how she expresses that in the world today. So, Holly, welcome, welcome. Really nice to have you here today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I like podcasts. I actually have one of my own called Transcendental Enclave. So I enjoy doing this kind of thing and meeting new people.
Definitely,
So
definitely.
it's wonderful to meet you.
Yeah. There's just so much that you do spiritually. How long have you been doing this and how did it start for you?
It started, well, I've been actually what I call I had my awakening into the spiritual realm in the fall of 2014. And my proverbial spiritual switch was flipped on actually during a live meditation of which I knew nothing about. It was through Hay House Radio, one of their regular people that they host, and I didn't realize it was live and didn't understand about energy. And
Yeah.
so there must have been probably 1,000 people, that followed this gentleman. And so I'm sitting at my kitchen table with my coffee and my laptop, and I'm just following his guidance. And next thing I know, something enters my heart from my back and between my shoulder blades. And as soon as it got in me, like in my heart chakra, I saw in my mind as clear as day this big round golden ball. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like, well, I don't know what this is. But
Yeah.
I just said, I don't know what you are or who you are, but please leave. And I said the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
And it left. And moving forward years, until just actually probably a month ago, I discovered that being was actually an African Orisha named Ashun, which,
How did I know you're going to say that? Yeah.
yeah, I just learned that a month ago. I'm writing a book about my whole interaction with the African deities,
Yeah.
um, and I even I had a mission trip even all the way to New Orleans, and even had interactions with Marie Laveau, and oh my gosh, the stuff that happened. But anyways, I just discovered who that was. So shortly after that occurred, I remember feeling a lot of pressure over my heart. My hands started burning, and I didn't know what any of that meant. And I remember getting a telepathic message very clearly, and it wasn't me, that had said, "Go find your local metaphysical store." And I went, "What? A what?" You know? So, I mean, I'd lived at that time here in Midland for 12 years, and I never knew we had a medical physical store. So, or metaphysical. So I went down, and there was this lovely younger gentleman in a t-shirt, holy blue jeans, and barefoot inside this store that was smelled wonderful and was full of crystals. And I just, impatiently explained all the stuff going on, and he was like, okay. So this little young gentleman, it was a shaman and a healer, which I didn't know. But he got me on the right track and set me up with some crystals in a cage, and it was right over my heart, and that took care of that problem. And then he proceeded to say the whole burning hands is like, you're a healer. That's what that means. So I was like, okay. So pretty well from that point on, I eat, sleep, and breathe my soul mission, and a lot of healing and reclaiming of the soul knowledge that we all innately have. And it's vast. It's so vast. And I've, in that process, discovered I was really ancient old soul with untold amounts of lives, not only here on Earth, but all throughout multiple galaxies and planets and beings. And so, anyways, exploring your soul is an amazing venture. And I soon discovered that others really need to know this too. I mean, all of us came here to this earth with a mission. Every incarnation we have, there is a mission. And this one is a very special mission, actually. And this now, because this is the Great Awakening. This is I won't say end times. It's more of the new beginning. The golden age. So anyway, I discovered I had all these multiple talents to do basically whatever's needed, what any person would probably need. I could do it. So it was just innately a part of who I am. And so I've been exploring all those avenues and loving every minute of it. And I really, really enjoy teaching and helping others discover who they are and their mission, and most of all, reclaiming their sovereignty. Those of us light workers, basically, in all their varying jobs, let's say, or missions, the dark side, particularly, well, all light workers really, we get attacked. We get suppressed. We get abused. We get, we're often placed in very difficult family situations that rather toughen us up for, the job ahead. Moving forward. So I've taken it upon myself through all that I have done for myself to help others reclaim their power. And I'm still, I mean, it's layer by layer by layer. It's I don't know if it'll ever end, but I've made humongous strides, and I've for the people that work with me, they as well. I'm appear to be quite the catalyst in
Mm.
awaking them and their
So
most
I think before we actually go into that, one thing I want to ask you is
yes.
how is your life so different now to how it was before your experience that kickstarted your awakening? What is the difference um in how do you feel and how you live your life? What have you seen that has been enhanced? Um,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, the stories I have. um, well, I have.
I think because like most of the time what tends to happen is it feels like a light switch has been switched on, and kind of like all your life experiences are just really magnified, and like being present, I find like when you're present, it feels like you can feel the wind on your skin caressing your skin, and you everything, it just feels really heightened. You can smell everything differently, you can distinguish things differently, and you can pick up things. It's like you're sharp. It's like the senses that you've always had that you've never used have um have been awakened, but then it just doesn't end there. It goes into your interactions, the people who come towards you, how you view experiences. Like if you went through challenging experiences before, the mindset that you'd have is totally different to the mindset you'd have after. So I'm just curious how things changed for you, um the language that you use.
Well, you described a good amount. True, all my natural human senses are
Yeah.
greatly intensified. Um, but I have to say, some of the most interesting and joyous new things that were not part of my old life are interacting with Mother Gaia and nature.
Yeah.
Mother Nature is a persona of Gaia herself,
Mm,
different yet the same.
mm,
And I've interacted with thunderstorms and lightning and rain. And I've even had an interaction with the Greek god Pan in my very backyard forest, which, they're real for gosh sakes. They honest to goodness are. Although I wouldn't, spend too much time with them. They're rather service to self mostly.
mm,
But and especially the galactics, discovering, yes, aliens or otherworldly beings, as they prefer to be called, are real, and they interact with me nearly on a daily basis.
mm,
I think I have more interaction with them than I do even spirits, but there was a time that they just came to me. The lost souls
mm.
that didn't know they were dead,
Yeah.
or just roaming around. They're drawn to our light, they're drawn to our love. Um, they don't know why they're there. So I started that process a few years, well, almost within the year of waking up. They started coming to me, and I learned how to cross them over
Mm,
and out of the matrix. I got them out of the matrix and into uh, the source consciousness, the collective consciousness, where they'll be free and not continually reincarnate uh, as a virtual slave.
yeah.
So somehow I learned that along the way too. I work with um, portals. I literally open up a portal and get them out of here. So I don't do that a whole lot lately. They haven't been coming to me. I guess I've been quite busy in the ethers. I'm quite the warrior as well, so my nights are just as busy as my days.
Mhm.
And it's fantastic. The beings that I met are just unimaginable. Planets. I have spoken with planets. I have. Did you know there's frog people?
I think I've
They
had.
fly spaceships.
Well, I haven't actually met, but I think I did have a conversation with someone, and she was talking about, just the different beings, because some people, I guess it's what your soul mission is. And if that is your soul mission, then that's kind of like what you're going to be interacting with, and kind of like the work that you're going to be doing. So
Yes.
that is, it's conversations that I've had, which I really think are fascinating. And I think the more open someone is, the more your mission is usually redefined, because I don't think that we only have just one mission. I
No.
think the missions always keep shifting with different times, or what the need is at that particular time. So, for instance, you know, I always say that sometimes it's hard to define what the gifts are for a spiritual being, or a spiritual. When I say spiritual being, is you and I. I think it's sometimes it's difficult to define exactly what their gifts are, because if someone comes to you and they need wisdom, you will pull that wisdom. You're like a portal. The wisdom will come through for them. Someone else might come in and they need healing.
Yes.
Portal will open for healing. They will receive that. So I usually think that the definitions that we give workers, and when I talk about light workers, I know some people, always like using that language of light workers, and there's always this bypassing of the dark energies. But I also think that for you to be a powerful light worker, you have to be comfortable in the dark energies. As you say,
Yes.
some of the work that you do is at night. um,
Yes.
you have to be able to be comfortable with that for your light um, to have its potency. You can't just choose one, you know.
No.
Um, and
Of
it's also
course, we all start out that way. We're all about the light. That's where when we start, and until, well, let me just say, as you're speaking, our main soul mission is us, healing us, balancing us, coming online to our true sovereignty. And that includes our dark aspects as well. We do have just as many dark aspects as we do light.
yeah,
So bringing, acknowledging both sides and bringing them into balance. The true spiritual master is someone
yeah,
who's balanced and in the center at their
yeah,
0 point. That's our
yeah.
true goal, is us first. Then we
Yes,
help others.
I love how you've said that. Um, because when the journey begins, it begins with you. And sometimes you don't even realize when it's now about other people, because you're so not aware. Um, and it's the beauty of it. So I am just so curious, like in your interactions with the other beings, what has been the main purpose for those interactions, um, in how you work with people?
Well, quite often, the extraterrestrials that come to me are often very curious. I mean, we are right now in our galaxy and even beyond. We are the hit show going on. Everybody's watching what we're doing, how we're dealing with things. Um, they're all watching,
Mm,
listening, and they're. We are such unique beings. Our DNA can save civilizations, and there's no other uh, being that can do what we do, that hold within us what we have, right down to our very selves. We are quite coveted for our genetics. our emotions. That's another thing. A lot of the extraterrestrials are not very emotional, or either they've bred it out of themselves thinking it's not important. So they often are purely curious. They even the inner earth building beings, Gartha, if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
They are anxious to, they once lived beside us. They once, interacted with us on a daily basis. We lived together in peace. And so they had to go underground, but they're very anxious to interact with us again and live amongst us in peace again. So I not only have extraterrestrials coming to me and they ask questions, why do you do this? And what does that mean? But also the inner earth beings, they want to be known, they want to be heard, they want us to acknowledge them and know that they are not there to harm us. They just want to come out of the inner earth and live with us here again. So it's coming from inner and outer.
Yeah.
A lot of the extraterrestrials too, they do come in peace and they want to assist in any way they can. They often have lovely messages that I share. And just being a channeler, oh, that excites me so. Just feeling their energy, and that's, and what I mean by that is a psychic medium, that term is someone who, say, a spirit comes and they interpret the message. They telepathically communicate with that spirit and they just pass on the message. Whereas a channeler, they literally bring that spirit or that being inside their body,
Yeah.
inside their energy centers. So you feel who they are and what they are. And sometimes it's incredibly.
I'm usually not fond of that though.
Oh, you're not? Oh gosh,
No.
I love it. I love it.
I'm not fond of
They
it's
do
just
get a little
the
overpowering sometimes, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, you got to tone it down. And
yeah,
I learned there's a specific energy
yeah,
called the sine, SINE frequency, which is what we seem to be most sensitive to. So I just have them adjust that, and then it's like, okay, good. And I've
yeah.
never had a problem. Never.
Mm,
I've never had an issue with them not fully leaving.
yeah.
And I do have an interesting story about that. If I can fit in 5 minutes,
Yes, you can.
which I think most people don't. Um, I discovered, now I don't currently follow this lady, but her name is JZ Knight.
Okay.
And she channels Ramtha.
Mm,
Been doing it for like 40 years or way back in the 70s, And it was last year or the year before, as she traveled around the world doing her seminars, someone gave her the bright idea, or she did. In one country, well, two different countries, she went to a DNA testing facility in both
mhm,
places. And they took a sample of her DNA when she was just her. And then she channeled Ramtha and they did another DNA sample. And they were not the same.
yeah,
And when Ramtha left, she was back to her normal DNA.
yeah.
So
I
isn't
mean,
that fascinating?
it is. I think it really is, and I think that we are advanced as humans, but I don't think that we are as advanced as we were before. I feel like there was a disconnect, and this is
Mhm.
what we're trying to get back to because we've been set back, thousands of years.
Yes, we
We've been
have.
set back. So, um, when things like that happen, I totally believe that because I don't think we've even scratched the surface of what we can do. um,
Very true.
of our capabilities, our abilities. I think we're so limited. Um, I think that um, logic, logic has overshadowed our spiritual senses to some degree, where everything has to be very logical, and the things that we're talking about are not logical.
Yeah.
They're completely, if someone had this conversation, they'd be thinking these women are totally mad. They're nuts. They should be
Oh,
locked
yeah.
up. Um, but these are experiences that people have, and I think as our soul mission, as you were talking about the soul mission, you being a catalyst, when people come close to you, they start being awakened. You don't have to shove it down their throats or anything.
Yeah.
Just you being yourself, your energy just begins to act as a catalyst to them. They start
Yes.
feeling and experiencing things, and I think that's the most beautiful way to be able to do anything. And then when they're open enough, you can start having those conversations. But I think when you say that we that the mission is ourselves, I think people usually forget that. They focus on, oh, my
Yes.
mission is to do this is my legacy. Actually, no, your
Yeah.
legacy flows from within you. It's not something that comes from the outside to the inwards. But people don't really still grasp that concept, because I always say that when we're on earth, everything is inverted. The things that should really matter are the things that don't. The things that don't matter are the things that do. Um, so it's just fascinating hearing your experiences, and kind of like the scoop of your openness. And I'm curious to know how you work with clients, because there's so many different ways that you can work with them. I know that you're a coach as well. So how do you work with your clients as a coach in this realm of work?
Well, I'm mostly like you mentioned just a bit ago. I organically um, awaken people, and I've learned very quickly. I get so excited as being a teacher, and all the things that I've experienced and want to share. I mean, they go into shell shock within minutes, you know. And I was like, okay, rein it in. So typically, a person will either locally or online through some other interaction, they'll just innately be drawn to me if I am the one to assist them. And it all depends on what they need. And I have also learned to just deal with the issues that they are aware of.
Mm,
But I always start with the clearing. That's one of my specialties. Is I clear all their auric fields, their energy centers, their meridians, their body, and there's always things that do not belong to them and should not be there. So before I do anything at all, whenever I work with somebody, we start with the clearing, and then they are open to receive. And I just listen very carefully, or as I connect with their energy, I'll know what they need. But I also work with what they know or what they want to know. And I don't deal so much with the superficial things, like the typical questions a person might ask an oracle reader. Um, that's
I
just
actually
kind
hate
of
that.
fun stuff later, like, am I
Yeah.
ever going to get my boyfriend back? No, I don't really deal with stuff like that. That is, I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
way
yeah,
uh, deeper than that. So,
yeah.
um, so
Because
it
it's
kind of
not
stays
usually the
that
issue, is it?
way.
The
And
boyfriend
then,
is not the issue.
yes. Uh, of
I love
course, all
that.
those answers are in them anyways. So that's another thing I do is I teach the tools so they can um, be prepared to do their self work, because it can't be done for them. Only so much can be done for someone else. But teaching them the tools so they can do their own healing and clearing and I mean, that's their main mission. So I help teach them that in the form that's perfect for them. And along the way, through my channeling, I had so many questions, and I always have questions, and I even get teased about all my questions I have. And my soul partner, Rob, I awakened him, and he is a channeler too. And we just now started working together as actual um, divine soul partner healing. Like we totally opposites of each other. We make the whole of each other. Together we're one, let's say. So there's nothing we can't accomplish energetically. But he channels as well now. And I had so many questions. One day I had just said, okay, I know you have questions. I heard you say them. I have some pressing questions. I said, let's just get a paper. Let's write your questions down, and you channel my soul and I'm going to channel yours. And he went, what? Like, yeah, if we can channel, you know, the rain or extraterrestrials, why not your own darn soul? I mean, what your soul within your body is the perfect aspect of yourself to connect with.
Mm,
It's connected to source. It's connected to all. It's
yeah.
connected to everything that you are. So we did that. That was our first experience, and it
How did it
was,
go?
oh, amazing. I think I recorded it, but anyway, we wrote down questions, and and that kind of started my process of channeling, starting to channel other people's souls as well. And that uh, transformed or transitioned into when a person came to me, I would do a clearing, and I do have a local room all set up. My what I call my Reiki room. I do all my sessions in there or online, either one. But I basically, if it's called for, I do the clearing and shield the space, and then I channel their soul. Their soul speaks through me, acts through me, and then leads them on their healing journey.
Mm,
Their own soul does the healing and guidance, and whatever comes out, they're in charge at that point. And what I mean, there is no better healer. There is no greater wisdom than your own soul.
yeah.
So I am super, super honored and excited to be able to do that for others, and as well as I still communicate. I've started, I even channeled my own soul, which was very interesting. Um, I don't do it too often, but there's telepathic communication. So I've started building on that interaction. He calls him, it's a male soul. I have a male soul, which is not uncommon
Mm,
for a female to have a male soul, and
yeah.
vice versa. But he calls himself Adamos, and so we humans like our names. So I just call on him, and then we have this telepathic communication if ever I need to ask or need assistance. But let's just say it's all the things that can happen and a person can experience. There are no limits.
Hmm.
I live my life that way now.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
limits.
So you mentioned in your bio, we speak about implant removal. Can you just speak a bit about that?
Oh, yes. Okay. So, as humans, each of us does have our mission. And there is a certain component of that soul mission, which is built into our soul blueprint when we incarnate into our current body. Um, we have certain things we need to accomplish. And it basically has to do at some point with righting wrongs and uh, bringing more light into the world in various forms. And that means interacting with the darkness. I won't say they're, the two main, well, actually, there's quite a few. And I've interacted with all of them. And the more I awakened, the more they tried to suppress me. So that was energy attacks. That was energy attachments. That was sending, overtaking spirits,
Mm,
consciousness that were of the light. They're really good at finding back doors and loopholes to try to invade my space. And the darn implants. There's etheric implants and there's actual physical implants they actually put in your body. Usually tend to affect the divine feminine side of you. For me, that is my right side.
yeah.
So they usually attack that side. But so in all the varying degrees of them, the dark hats, trying to suppress you and keep you from your mission, I have had lots of experience removing all these suppressing mechanisms. That is false beliefs, uh, uh, programs, inner thought programs
Yeah.
put in there, and um, there are varying ways, depending on what it is, that these can be removed. Now, on occasion, I've had a particularly stubborn one, and then I would have to reach out to my galactic companions, and they have the technology to just swoop in and zap them.
Mm,
That's happened as well. So, thank you to all those lovely beings who assisted me thus far. And so let's just say that anything that has been done can be undone, period.
yeah. I like how you've actually explained it because it's both physical and kind of like spiritual. And
Etheric, yes.
yes, so some people don't actually believe in that until it happens.
Oh, yeah.
They don't believe they don't believe it exists until um, they start coughing of things or they start feeling it move in their body,
Oh, yeah.
um, which is um, which is very interesting. I mean, and I love that you say that you do actually get assistance with this because sometimes, like you've said about the suppression, and some people don't really understand the that when you start getting awakened, you start getting the suppressions. Some people call it attacks, but I prefer suppressions because it sounds
Yeah.
less aggressive in my mind.
But there
But
are aggressive attacks too, let me tell you. I've had
yeah,
bruises and scratches and you name it. I've probably
yeah,
experienced it.
yeah. And so I literally prefer calling them suppressions because I think um it just that's what it's doing, you know.
Mhm.
And reframing how we look at it or how we discuss it actually puts a different spin on it, because I've found people who would be spending so much time on that, and I'm thinking you're not supposed to spend so much time on that. You address it, deal with it, and you keep it moving. So you're not,
Yes.
so they are not
Otherwise,
leaving
you
you
call
in that.
more to you.
Yeah, so they're not leaving you in that place of being defensive, because you
Yes.
can't be defensive and move. You can't be defensive and build. It's either one
No.
or the other, right? um
Yeah.
and the suppression really is real, and it happens to so many people, and it sets them back once they start moving.
There's another important issue I want to bring to everyone's awareness as well, and that is the energy vampires.
That is a big one.
They any time of the day and night, but particularly in your lucid state, the different types of beings, particularly the reptilians, love to come in and drain your light force energy.
Mm,
And they feed on it.
mm.
They feed on us. We are food.
Yes,
So
we
that
are.
can be stopped as well.
Yes. So, glad that you brought that up. How can people protect themselves from
The
this?
first thing
If someone is watching this and they're thinking, "Oh my goodness, this is happening to me," um, what are the practical ways they can protect themselves?
I have used crystals. Like under my bed, I have 2 small bowls of sea salt, and I have iron pyrite and what's the other? Any like onyx or tourmaline I put in the salt. And salt is a crystal, a natural salt, anyways. And you can program them and you say protect. And I put 1 bowl where my hips would be as I lay down and 1 by my head. And that creates a barrier.
Mm,
Then also, your next step up is working with the energetic light rays.
mm,
Like the rose gold ray is prominent right now. The rainbow ray is prominent right now.
mm,
The ultraviolet silver ray, which is quite beautiful, particularly for removing attachments out of you. Imagine this cord and you grab all of it out and you pull it out and you can feel it coming out. But before you let go, you fill that cord with the ultraviolet silver ray. And what it does, we already know it's coming from a negative source, correct? So that's a darkness coming in. What we're doing by pushing that ultraviolet silver ray is anything that was brought towards us is now turned into source love energy. And when you let it go, it bounces back like a rubber band, and they get blasted with love and light.
mm.
So there's that one. And then there's a new one that just a few weeks ago was shown to me, and that is ultra silver blue ray. And you call these energies in through your down from source and other benevolent beings, ascended masters and whatever. They all are connected with certain colors of energy that's connected to their souls. And you bring that down through your auric fields in your body, and you flow it into your toroidal fields, and you put the ultras, like the diamond ray and platinum ray as well. You can push those out after they've flowed through you, and then seal them with intention. It's all about intention.
Yeah.
You seal that off in your toroidal field. So that would be my next step. And then when it gets particularly hairy, you may have to call on one of your higher selves, which is actually other versions of you in other life forms and times.
Mm.
By the way, some may be in spirit form and some may be alive. They are alive, some of them. I had gotten an argument with the Palladian self because I interrupted him in the middle of something. So, anyways, so you can appoint a guard, like a gatekeeper, to particularly during the night when you're sleeping and in that deep states where you really need to rest. You
Yeah.
call on them to stand guard for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I want you to speak a bit about um, your higher self in different forms in relation to time, because people think time is, when we're talking about spirituality, the ether, and everything else, time is not relative. Time is a concept that does not exist. So,
Correct.
how would you tie all of that in with regards to the illusion of time? Because someone listening to this might be thinking, well, how would that be present everywhere else? And how is that possible?
Well, it's a lengthy subject, but as everyone knows,
Let's make it as short as possible. We might have to have a different conversation, a part two, perhaps.
yes.
Um,
Well, here on Earth, everybody knows this is linear time, but the further out you get in dimensions, there's less and less of it,
mm,
and quickly. As I've noticed, say in typically in other dimensions, a little further out, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth dimension,
mm,
it can literally be much faster. If you have to think of that concept at all,
mm,
it works out on the average of 10 minutes Earth time is literally a week in these other realms, but not all.
mm,
Um, Also, I have to bring up the parallel Earths
mm,
and you have versions of you living on these parallel Earths. I have so many times jump timelines
mm,
and either assisted other versions of me or changed the reality, like working as a higher self for that other me
mm.
in real time. Now
Yeah.
that is same time.
Mm.
Although
But
some
some people would, so this is just for some people
it
who might have experienced this, but not in when they're awake. It could be in the, sometimes it comes up in the forms of dreams. You're seeing yourself somewhere
yes,
else doing something else, just,
yeah,
so that people who haven't got to where you are can be able to understand what you're saying.
yes.
Yeah.
But working with outside of this linear field anyways, there
Yeah.
basically isn't time, or it's um, much faster. Everything
Mm.
is slower and heavier here on Earth than it is
Yeah.
elsewhere. So, and I have had experiences rather often with versions of myself or extraterrestrials where I learned that the future, past, and parallel all is the same time. The past is current, the future is current, the the dimensions, no matter what you want to, they're all around us all the time. Our human, if you can envision our body, we are in our own little universe, we are the 0 point, and
Yeah.
everything else flows around us.
Yeah.
All the dimensions, all everything is just right there. You just set your intention and it's right there.
Yeah.
So it's all
Um,
happening at the same time.
I love how you've said that, because sometimes people don't understand when they are meditating and someone says to you, visualize what you want to happen. Kind of like, so some people would visualize, or I want to have this and that. So they say to you, visualize that it's now, it's happening now, so that you can embody that energy and
Yes.
start integrating it. So, you know, people sometimes don't understand that concept, or why people actually do that. So you've quite explained it in a beautiful way, so that sometimes when people go to meditate, they'll know, okay, this is why this is why I'm doing this. So you can
Imagination is
experience it now.
imperative. Imagination
Yeah.
is another huge thing you need to reawaken within yourself. I also work a lot with shamanic journeying.
Mm,
That's basically my form of meditation.
I
It's
love
very
that.
it's
It is like,
proactive.
Yeah, it's I
Yes.
absolutely love
I
that.
lead
And
others into
yeah,
that, and I do
mm,
that often myself. And that's another uh, way that I receive healing and information. You can do anything there, and it's completely safe. And you're basically going into yourself.
yeah,
You're not going outside yourself. You are going within yourself. So it's completely
yeah,
safe, and it's always the truth. And you learn so
right.
much.
Yeah, it's so
But you
beautiful.
have to open up that imagination and don't set limits for yourself in any way, or it's going to slow you down with your awakening process.
Absolutely, yes. And I think this is where it's good to spend so much time within yourself and kind of like deepening in self-trust so that
Yes.
those experiences you're more open to trusting yourself within those experiences, because I find once you don't, then it just really halts things. And we live in a world where they try to make sure that you don't trust yourself. They're taking away the self trust and they want you to hand it over to governments or different authorities. And this is why we were saying, the world is so inverted. The things that we should be doing, the self empowerment and standing in your power and decision making, and
Sovereignty,
exactly, it's all of that. It's all that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful energy and everything else. Just having that within you first. And as you quite rightly said, your mission is you. This is why your mission is you, right?
and it's not a selfish thing, it's a necessary thing.
Exactly.
We
And
have to love ourselves first. We have
yes.
to fill our own cup first
Yeah.
so we can
Yeah.
be fully available for others when they need us.
Yeah. I mean, I've totally enjoyed this conversation, and I think we can go on for hours
Oh,
because it's just
absolutely. Well, I
because
hope
it's
you
just
invite me back for round two.
definitely. I think this is I mean, this is just part one, I like I said, this is kind of like my realm. This is what I love talking about, because this is so natural for me. I think it is more natural to me than business. I don't know. It feels like truth and awareness at the same time, and just spontaneous knowing as the information just flows. So I really love that, and I think it just awakens so many different things, and I think the message is so relevant, especially today. So I'm going to ask you a last question before we wrap up, and it's to do with business. How do you feel having all of this self-awareness, self-empowerment, standing in your sovereignty? How does that benefit people who want to succeed in business? Because we need to be able to just help people understand, okay, why this conversation is so woo woo. What does it have to do with business? How have you seen it present itself or help people in business so that people can actually connect that for themselves?
Well, it's incredibly important.
Mm,
I want to add to something I learned recently um, was the importance of healing your inner child.
yeah.
That is another huge issue that would keep you from prosperity.
Mm,
Because a lot of our anything that would keep us from being abundant and prosperous and whatever our intention was is really based on healing that inner child or children. In my case, I have many, but that would hold you back and you wouldn't even know it. But having that taking back your power and your sovereignty and realizing there are truly no limits in anything you can accomplish and want. And I have personally experienced miracles in the making, as I call them. Um, when you don't reclaim your power, you have nothing to give. And
mm,
as a business person, you have to be the most open, powerful, grounded, loving, giving self that you can be. And you mentioned before, everything is in our society and how we were raised is introverted. So you'll never be successful unless you change it back.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I love how you've tied it all in. So, thank you so much for joining us. I will definitely
Oh,
need to have
thank
you again. I
you.
can't believe how quickly the time has gone, but
It
um,
has.
we're definitely going to have an even deeper conversation um, around this because I think I enjoyed it. You know,
So
if
did
anybody else
I.
doesn't, I enjoy it. So,
I love
um,
meeting another open soul. It's so exciting.
definitely. So thank you so much for coming in and spending time just sharing this and being so open to having these discussions and just sharing your experience. I think that is so beautiful. Thank you so much. And to the
Oh, wow.
audience, Holly's information will be at the bottom. We will share it so you can reach out to her. She has a Facebook group. She has all of this amazing stuff going on. I'm going to tag her on everything so you'll be able to find her on social media as well. And just a quick reminder to join our spirituality membership waitlist. So we start this membership in September. We'll be talking about everything to do with spirituality, and we might have Holly, if she says yes. She might be one of the facilitators within the sessions that we talk about because I think we just need to have so many different people sharing their experiences and teaching, and the whole group is really about growing in spirituality. We're all growing, we're all evolving, and also helping people in business. So it's going to be so much fun. I guarantee that I've got amazing people lined up as facilitators and guest speakers. So that is all from us today. Make sure you share this video and reach out to Holly. And
Thank you.
yeah, find out what else is in there.
Blessings.
She's an amazing, amazing person. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Blessings to all.